All right, welcome back to the channel again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all so much for coming over. Got this video here from the Law and Crime Network. You know what? I damn near forgot about this. Shannon Sharpe case explodes. Accusers, lawyers, ghost court. What's happening? I honestly kind of forgot about this. Yeah, so they about to give us an update. I don't know if you guys have seen this already. If you are watching again with me, I appreciate you. All right, you can find the full video in the description just in case I had to trim some stuff out. So we ain't gonna waste no more time. Let's jump right into it.
At a first court appearance in a $50 million use lawsuit, Shannon Sharpe's legal counsel showed up, but the plaintiff's legal team? Not so much. The surprise no-show raises some serious questions about the future of a case already loaded with explosive allegations and high-stakes drama. We are going to break down how all of this unfolded, what could come next in a lawsuit that is tangled in celebrity controversy, and what we should be thinking about as we talk next moves for Shannon Sharpe. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Didn't show up. It's crazy.
The first hearing in the explosive $50 million civil lawsuit against Pro Football Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe took an unexpected twist on July 9th, 2025, and that is when apparently no attorney representing the plaintiff showed up at the Clark County District Court out in Nevada. Unusual, potentially damaging. We're going to discuss that. But you have to start asking questions about the direction, maybe the stability of a lawsuit that's delivered more than its fair share of surprises since first grabbing the headlines several months ago. Now, before we dive into the latest developments, got to do a little bit of a rewind here. So the lawsuit that was filed on April 20th, 2025 by prominent Houston attorney Tony Busby on behalf of an anonymous woman in her 20s contains graphic...
I will say this. It has not been looking good for Busby. There has been so many people coming to him. It's been so many allegations. Yeah. Because what was... He was trying to settle Shannon Sharpe. They were trying to give the lady... I forgot. Boy. Like, I like to see things through. You know, try to cover as much as I can as videos come out to try to, because one day it'll be this, one day it'll be that. But yeah, it hasn't been not been looking good for Busby at all.
Allegations against the former NFL tight end turned media superstar Shannon Sharpe. And the complaint alleges that Sharpe engaged in what is essentially a pattern during what began as a consensual relationship with the plaintiff, who, by the way, is apparently more than 30 years his junior. According to court documents, the plaintiff met Sharpe at a Los Angeles gym when she was just 19 years old, and the lawsuit claims that Sharpe, quote, incessantly pursued the young woman, demanding her phone number, eventually asking her to visit his home, and most disturbingly, possibly, is the filing alleges that Sharpe required this woman to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, before their first meetings, although this request is something she repeatedly refused. Now, the relationship, according to her, allegedly turned. Now, the lawsuit also claims that Sharpe secretly recorded their intimate encounters, shared the videos without her consent, but maybe the most...
We do know everything that was alleged against him by her, because I had to trim out a lot of the words that Jesse's saying right now, but I have almost forgot like the stuff that they were saying, or that she was saying, you know, recording, basically she was saying no, he didn't listen, and yeah, that's everything that she alleged.
Chilling aspect of this are the alleged threats that were captured in audio recordings that were released by Tony Busby. In fact, in one clip, a voice identified as Sharpe's can be heard saying, "If you say that word one more time, I'm going to bleep and choke the bleep out of you when I see you." Now, the woman, allegedly the plaintiff in the case, then can be heard saying she doesn't want that, while the voice resembling Sharpe responds, "Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter." So it becomes a question, do you take that literally, or I think the other way of looking at it from the defense's point of view would be this is role playing of some kind. Well, Sharpe has adamantly denied all the allegations through his attorney, or one of his attorneys, Lanny Davis, who called the lawsuit, quote, a classic definition of blackmail. And the former NFL star took to Instagram shortly after the lawsuit became public, posting a video where he called the allegations, quote, a shakedown, promised to fight back aggressively, quote, what they're getting is sued, Sharpe declared in the since-deleted post. And he even suggested that Busby planned to release edited portion tape and challenged him to release the full recording.
This is a shakedown. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks.
So now let's talk a little law here. So typically, defendants in lawsuits, in federal lawsuits, are given 21 days to respond with an answer once they're provided the summons and complaint. An answer being where they go through the allegations in the complaint line by line, paragraph by paragraph, and they admit, deny, say they don't have enough information. It's a response. And, you know, what's interesting about this is, according to reporting from the New York Post, it doesn't seem that Sharpe has legally responded as of yet. Can't really confirm that, but that's what the reporting seems to suggest. And we'll talk more about that when we get into it. But first, I want to bring on a special guest to help me break down the latest, including what happened in this hearing. I am joined by sports attorney Dan Lust, professor, New York Law School. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for taking the time.
Always good to see you, Jesse. Happy to help.
Thanks. So what are the typical timelines for a high-profile civil lawsuit like this to progress from filing to resolution? Am I right that it's 21 days to respond? I mean, is it typical? How does it work for people who don't know how civil lawsuits typically work?
Yeah, I mean, this is like law school basics, right? We're talking about how a lawsuit started, right? There's the filing of the complaint. There's the service of the complaint. So, you know, certainly depends on what court you're in, what state you're in. But generally, right, once you are served with the complaint, sometimes you have 21 days. Sometimes you add some more time if it's personal service versus a mailing, right? But either way, once a commencement papers are started, you have a set amount of days to respond to that. Otherwise, you risk being held in default, either by plaintiff's counsel's motion or sometimes, right, particularly in federal court, something like sua sponte, right? And that's a fun Latin term where the judge themselves decides to hold you in default. So it is somewhat odd, and I know, Jesse, there's probably more questions than answers. We get to this hearing, and we have no response from defendant, but we also have a no-show from plaintiff. So it's not really your typical setting how we're starting this debate, and in this case, a very high-profile case. But I wouldn't say this is following the normal playbook, so to speak.
By the way, as we're talking about a big lawsuit like this, how could I not talk about experts in the litigation field? But what would be the reason to not prepare an answer? And would there be a situation where the court says, we're going to allow the case to go forward? You're not in default, just file an answer as soon as you can. I mean, it just seems strange that based on the reporting, I think it was from the New York Post a few days ago, that they said there was no legal response yet. Can you give any insight into that?
Yeah, I mean, this is, I tell my clients, right, like the wheels of justice turn very slowly, and sometimes you don't really have an answer, right? And sometimes just, hey, what is stopping these attorneys from just kind of pushing the case out indefinitely? So behind the scenes, judges are graded on their own rubrics about how quickly they're adjudicating cases. So no judge is in the business of just allowing a case to be, we'll say, extended indefinitely. And judges, part of their job, in addition to getting a decision on the merits or pushing the parties toward a settlement, is to push the parties in some direction and not just kind of lay out there. And Jesse, just, I guess, like strategically, when Lanny Davis came onto the case, he came in very aggressively. And I know we spent a lot of time in our last conversation talking about making public of certain settlement negotiations. But Lanny Davis also said that Sharpe was going to go on the aggressive with his own defamation case. So, just from the initial posturing of the case, Sharpe is not taking an aggressive standpoint. Quite the contrary. He's just kind of playing wait and see, I guess, for lack of a better term. So, if people have questions as to why Sharpe and his legal team, and I think there's some new lawyers involved now, it's certainly a changing of the strategy, which on day one was let's go 100 miles per hour, let's go on the offensive. And now when you don't really file an answer, it's safe to say you're not even playing defense. You're just kind of doing nothing.
Is that typical in the sense, like, you could say, okay, well, there's a change in circumstances, we're going to come off aggressive first, but things can change. It's not necessarily that there was a mistake made with that comment. I mean, there could be a situation where you say thing one day and then there's a change in circumstances the next, right? I mean, I hear exactly what you're saying, and I believe Lonnie Davis had talked about how Shannon Sharpe had rejected a settlement offer, and like you said, we talked about that. Was that wise to make that public? But I guess there could be maybe just a reason why there seems to be a change.
I'll give you my best guess, right? So it looks like Lanny Davis, for we'll say best case scenario, is one of now a number of lawyers involved on Sharpe's side. So it could be, right, you have new representation, they want to slow things down, they want to just change the gear, right? The other, just I want to throw this out there, and again, you and I are trying to make sense of what is pretty much a barren docket at this point. Why, and certainly on the plaintiff side, people are not, this is not a foreign concept. Plaintiffs' attorneys in a case like this will generally work off of some contingency. So they'll get paid assuming plaintiff side wins, right? They're not generally working off of a billable hour system. Very different on the defense side, where defense counsel are getting paid by the hour, right? Billable hours. So if Sharpe's side were to take an aggressive standpoint on a defense case, for the most part, again, we're not aware of what Sharpe's arrangement is here, but you'd be paying attorneys by the hour to take an aggressive standpoint on that defense. Now, hypothetically, Jesse, let's say the parties, since you and I last spoke, right, at the end of April, beginning of May, whenever that was, let's say the parties have made some additional traction towards settlement. And as Sharpe's lawyer, Davis, said, at one point they were making some progress. So let's say over the last 2 months or so, they've made some progress. That would be a reason to slow down these court proceedings. So Sharpe's side is not racking up the legal hours, speeding a case along in terms of starting the process of discovery and getting a deposition schedule. And maybe they're having some real substantive momentum of moving this forward. That's also a plausible explanation. And it's not just a changing of the guard. It could be some progress is being made behind the scenes that you and I wouldn't see.
Well, let's talk about it, because let's go to this hearing. So Judge Anna Albertson presided over what should have been a routine meeting for the civil suit that has obviously made national headlines since it was filed in April. But instead, the hearing became notable for who wasn't there. Any legal representation for the anonymous female plaintiff accusing the 57-year-old media personality, only one attorney appeared in that downtown Las Vegas courtroom. There was Robert DeMarco, who's representing Sharpe's legal team, which, by the way, is primarily composed of New York-based lawyers. And DeMarco explained to Judge Albertson that other attorneys on Sharpe's team, they were currently handling cases out of state, so he was there. Now, the defense requested a 45-day extension to review the case's progress, which the judge granted, despite, and this was interesting, despite expressing surprise that Sharpe's team wasn't pushing for a quicker resolution, meaning like a settlement. So the next hearing is now scheduled for September 3rd. Dan, a lot to make here. How on earth is it possible that an attorney for the plaintiff doesn't show up? How unusual is that? Is there a significant reason why that would happen? I can't imagine it's strategic. You got to show up to court. Well, what's going on here? Does it say, wait a second, maybe this, I mentioned the word stability. Does it give you questions about the stability of this case?
Stability, viability. I mean, we can say that, but again, let's just play it like if a plaintiff's attorney doesn't show up to a case that they've commenced, right? They've made these big public statements, the case is out there, and you just no show. And I understand maybe the attorneys are out of town, whatever else. There is, at least as far as I can tell, no tactical or strategic advantage to making yourself look bad in front of the judge, right? And we're not aware of this. It's possible there were conversations between the lawyers to maybe adjourn the appearance if you couldn't be available. It's possible. But strategically, I can't see the reason for not showing up if you're the plaintiff side. Now, that's, I guess, step one, right? I don't have the answer to that. It could be, right, in my second scenario I laid out for you, that they're getting close on settlement and they don't need to move things along with the judge. It's possible. And I guess, Jesse, before I move on to the other part of this, if the sides are working towards some type of resolution, neither side, and they think it's plausible and making some real progress, it behooves both sides to get a discovery schedule from the judge that would set up these set dates that they have to accommodate by in the exchange of discovery and whatnot. So that would kind of put the gas pedal on the commencement of the case in real settings with the judge. So that seems to line up that defense counsel would say, hey, no big deal, plaintiff's not here. Let's kick this out 45 days. Because alternatively, right, if there's no settlement progress and the parties aren't on the same page, if I'm accused, like Lanny Davis mentioned, of a completely frivolous case and this whole thing is defamatory, I am kicking and screaming that plaintiffs who commenced this case couldn't take the time to show up for the initial hearing. And we didn't hear that from Sharpe's side. So I think it's, again, trying to make sense of what we have here. It seems that both parties are on the same page, or else, defense counsel didn't create a clean record as to this inexcusable.
All right. I've seen and heard enough. So they might come to a settlement agreement, because I was like, man, what happened with this case? I don't know, man. I feel like when you're in entertainment, whether it's actors, sports, music, whatever the case may be, of course you're gonna have people coming for you. There's a lot of people out there with bad intentions, and there are people who try to shake down people, get money from people. We know that to be true. We also know the other side of it, that a lot of these people are in positions to where they feel like they're invincible and they can do things and nobody's going to say nothing. They got them signing NDAs and all that. So at the end of the day, they both know what happened. All we can do is speculate. But, you got to be careful who you surround yourself with, because even, let's say Shannon didn't do none of this, his image did get a little tarnished, but he's back on the air, he's still working and stuff. I don't know, did he get that or did he not get that $100 million contract? Maybe he didn't get it. But you see what I mean? It's like, I ain't saying like, oh, go settle down, go get a wife or nothing like that. I feel like he can still have his fun and stuff, but he just somebody need to do some better background checks or whatever. I'm just saying, if this girl is telling the truth, like, or I'm sorry, if this girl is lying, like, these dudes just be out and about, just slanging and danging. And they be doing, I feel like a lot of them be doing things for years, and then it finally, like, you get one of them. Because there's a lot of, think about all the ones who haven't said nothing, who haven't talked. And I ain't saying that they did something to them. I'm just talking about, like, the ones that be doing stuff on the low. Because you got the ones that are married out here doing stuff. Hell, you got some of the women out there that are married messing with the men. It's a dirty game. But hey, I appreciate you guys coming over. You can find a full video in the description, man. Peace out.